Page 36, Allegro, I can't speak today, Allegro in F major. Again, at the title of the piece, isn't really much of a title per se, but it's the speed and the key. And sometimes that they use those as the title of the piece, especially if it's a movement from a sonata or sonatina or symphony or something. They would, something in F major or something in C major or whatever. It works out. In this lesson, they're talking about motifs and imitation. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about motifs and imitation. A motif, or motif, some people call it. I call it a motif. You can call it a motif if you want to, I don't care. It's just a short idea, musical. It's like we have phrases as a musical thought. Well, a motif is like a short little incomplete thought. Like if I say, in the woods, the prepositional phrase, in the woods. That's not a whole sentence. It's just a little thought, part of a thought, in the woods. It's not complete in itself. Well, that would be similar to music. We just have these short little thoughts, just a few notes. It's just a thought. And sometimes you can put them together for a whole sentence, and sometimes they stand alone, and sometimes you repeat them for a sequence, and we have all kinds of fun. Okay, just as long as you sort of know what they mean. You'll recognize a musical thought when you get it. It's just a short of a few notes that some pattern, and probably you're going to hear it more than once. Like at the beginning here, these eighth notes. It's not a full thought, musical thought. It's not a phrase, but you're going to get it again and again and again and again. It's a motif. This measure 5. Even though the last note is moving around a little bit, it's still a thought. It's a motif. Altered slightly, but it's there. I could say this broken chord pattern is a motif. Not much of one, but okay. Generally, we want a little more melody than that. Doesn't affect how you play it. Just it gives you an idea of understanding the music and how it's constructed. If you're wanting to get into writing your own music, you can think about I'm going to have this motif and I'm going to repeat it forever until everybody gets tired of it. That's generally what they do in today's music. You get a little motif and they just repeat the whole thing forever until you want to throw up. There's no variety in it at all. But they're okay if they're not overdone. And then imitation. Imitation is one thing imitates another. You did it, so I'm doing it. And that's sort of what we're doing here between the hands. The first measure, but the second measure, it's the same motif at different times. It's imitation. So it's imitating it. That's imitation. You sort of recognize it in places. Doesn't affect how you play it. It's just something you'll recognize, and if you're going to memorize pieces, it helps to think about these things, because okay, I'm going to play this motif 100 times and then I'm going to imitate it and something. So let's go through and see what we get here in this Allegro thingy. I look it over, I see it's 2 pages long. It's actually longer than that because of the repeat sign and the DC, but there's 2 pages of music to learn, and that's what I'm after. The clef signs are treble and bass clef. The 1 flat in the key signature, we're in the key of F major, so make sure you go do the F major scale. I got the videos. Also, go ahead and do the D minor scale too, because it has 1 flat in its key signature. You're going to need D minor eventually. You just won't do it now. When I do the scales and arpeggios, I do it according to key signatures, the habit I get into. And the 3/4 time, and I see eighth notes and quarter notes all over the place. Right hand, let's just make sure I want to connect everything first. It's a 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 3 and. It's major 7. The little finger comes up for 1 note. The hand doesn't move, just to. Okay, go to major 13. It's 1 and 2. And now we're going to come from here to here. Now it's scratch up, and now we have the G. It's almost a F major scale, except we're starting on G instead of F. It's still an F major scale. The only difference is we started here instead of here. So we're fingering wise, we get to use third finger instead of fourth because we started on first. That's nice, huh? And then for measure 17, you're doing the chords. C chord, measure 19, you have B naturals on these. Remember that natural sign is good for the whole measure, so you're here. If you're wondering what, know that is a G7 chord, in case you're curious as to what the chord is. C. Okay, left hand, what do we got? Well, we got the F chord broken, and then the same thing. Okay. Not a lot going on in the left hand. Let's go over to measure 17. This is a different section. Remember we talked sections before? You got one section with this melody, and then over here, measure 17 is different. That's a different melody. It's a different section. So it's here. 1, 2, 3, and this is fun. Go down to the last line. Measure 22 is here. 1, 2, 3, and then reach up. So reach out. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Then we put the hands together. Now I'm probably going to hesitate all over. It's fine. I don't care. I just want to know how the fingers are working. It's here, and then here, and here, and here, and then again. Get the idea? So I go through the whole thing and I put the hands together. And then I go back over it a few hundred times slowly and work out the hesitations. And unless I'm moving around, I should not have to look at the keyboard here to feel it. You want to feel this keyboard. Then I add the articulation. Now on the chords, you do an chuck chuck, I guess. You connect the first two. You don't have to. You could disconnect them all. There's nothing marked. You do what you want. If I wanted, I could do it. But I typically will do an chuck chuck. I'll connect the first two, but I can't connect the repeated notes. See, I'm here, but I'm connecting this. For measure 5, I'm connecting that. Connecting all these measures in the right hand together. These are not phrases. These are motifs. These are slurs. And you don't always lift up before and after a slur. So I'm connecting all those together. Starting in measure 5. Now it's a new phrase. When we get to measure 17, things get interesting because now on the chord, there's staccato. I'm hinging at the wrist short. But I'm this at the same time. And you think, ooh. Well, take it really super, super slow. Just here. Till you get that feeling of coming up here, but and keeping this down. You can gradually speed it up eventually. So forth. Now the last two measures at the bottom. Both hands come up like taking a breath. And now you go back to the beginning. In the left hand, connect that to the first note at the beginning. To that F at the beginning, connect all that together. This leads into it, but go on to here, and when you lead into it, you usually connect it. Don't go and lift. No, connect it. That's interpretation. So once I have the articulation under control, sort of, then I think about the dynamics. The broken chords keep in the background wherever they are. The melody, we want to hear that moderately loud, mezzo forte. This is soft until the second measure, then it can come up. Soft, moderately loud, soft, And soft, it's like statement, reply, or statement and echo. So, measure 17, we're loud, but that's the left hand. This, keep it light. Yeah. This, the last measure, that hairpin, you got to come all the way down to soft here. Here, so you're starting at loud and go down to soft. Yeah. So that's an idea of the dynamics. Ideally, you get to know it and comfortable enough with it, you feel these dynamics and you feel the staccatos and slurs and things. And then the speed, which is Allegro, which means quick or happy. I say quick. Some people say happy, say anything you want, but play it quick. Now the eighth notes need to be even and controlled. So go find the hardest part. It's maybe 13, measure 13. There, whatever you can do accurately, that's going to be your Allegro for now. Later on, another year or two, you come back and you play through these for fun of it. You'll play them faster and better at that time. Just right now, it's there. It's not necessarily the speed of the beat we're talking about, it's the overall feel. And when you have a bunch of eighth notes, it's going to slow it down a little bit. Because if I go 1, 2, 3, 1, the Allegro on that. If you can play it that fast already, you probably don't need this book. Slow it down. Now on measure 16 at the end, there's a repeat sign. It sends you back to the beginning because there's no reverse repeat sign anywhere. So you do that whole mess again. So you're doing section A twice. Then you do section B, starting measure 17. Down at the bottom, you have DC al fine. Remember, DC means go back to the beginning and go to fine. And the fine, you have to go find it. Where is it? Well, it's at the end of measure 16 where the repeat sign is. The repeat sign is covering up the thin and thick bar line. The end of piece symbol, yeah. The repeat sign is covering it up. But you go back and you do section A. So it's an AABA is the form we're doing here, sort of. Please don't copy me. It's just one way it can be played. You don't have to take it at that speed. You can do more with the dynamics. I tend to want to put a swell in those every time. That's interpretation. You don't have to. Just whatever. Let's play this together very slowly and check the notes and the rhythms. I'll give us 3 counts. I'm not going to do the louds and softs because we're not performing it. But we will do the repeat and the DC al fine and the whole bit. 1 and ready and go and. and repeat and.